want to get rich. And with rich, I don't necessarily mean millions and millions of dollars. I just mean wealthy enough so I can live comfortable. First of all, let me start off by saying I am not a financial advisor, and this is not financial advice. I don't want you to believe me. I don't need you to believe me. I want you to do your own research. I'm just telling you what I plan to do, and so far it has worked for me. So I hope you like the video. Let's begin. So, first things first. Before I invest in anything, anywhere, no loans. The only loan, in my opinion, that is permissible is a house loan, because not everyone can just pay 400,000 for a house. You need a loan to be able to pay for it. And another loan that is permissible, in my opinion, is a student loan, because oftentimes you don't have much choice as a student except for to get a loan. Depends on which country you live, of course. Preferably a low interest rate on both of those loans. Any other loan I would repay like there is no tomorrow, because with loans you don't only pay the money that you borrow, but the additional interest on it. So if you buy something for $10,000, if it's a loan, usually with the percentages you pay far more than the 10,000 that the original price was. And the longer it takes to pay the loan back, the more you end up paying. And for example, if it's a car payment, I buy my cars in cash and preferably for a low cost. But if it's a car payment, for example, that is too high, either you drown in the monthly payments, or you cannot pay it and they take your car and the money you have paid so far. That's why I said I only buy my cars with cold hard cash. Imagine the pay is due, but you just lost your job. And while we are talking about cars, I never buy a car that costs more than, let's say, 10 to 15% of my total net worth in cash. So not my net worth in the house or stuff that I have, but my net worth in cold hard cash. So let's say if I have $100,000, my car will at the max cost 15,000. But let's say if I sell my previous car, it can exceed it. So let's say I am willing to give 15,000 at the max of my net worth. But if I sell my previous car for 5,000, that means I can buy a car for 20,000. So that's the thing on loans. First thing you do is pay off all your loans that you have. That's what I would do. Once again, this is not financial advice. I'm just saying what I would do. The second thing before I plan to invest is that I save money equal to 6 months of my living expenses. So let's do a little calculation what I need to survive for 6 months. So let's see, my rent is about $1,200. My electricity and gas bill is $150. My water payment is $60. The health insurance for both me and my wife is €360. My car insurance and road tax that we pay in the Netherlands is about €80 combined. The food is around $500. The gym membership is $50. I also have a thing with my work where they pay me like $300 yearly back. So 5 times 12 is 600, and they pay me 300 back, so I pay 300 a year. Phone is 20, my wife pays 10, I pay 10 a month. Internet is 40 bucks, and yeah, a total is $2,460 or euros. It's close to each other. Now, 2,460 times 6, so half a year, 6 months, is $14,760. So that's what I need to be able to pay my bills for 6 months without having an income. The reason why I wanted this amount is because I never know what could happen. I can lose my job, or something else can happen that could lead to less income. You can take it further and save up for up to a year. So you just double the amount. Instead of 15,000, I would need 30,000 to be able to pay my monthly expenses and to not work for the whole year. To remember, it goes, the saving up goes faster if you do it with your wife or husband. If you are not married yet, I'm sorry, but I would not mix my financials with my girlfriend, or if you're a woman, boyfriend, or whatever you are. After I have saved up this amount and all my loans are paid, that's when I start to think about investing. Now remember, this is not financial advice, but I will show you what I invest in. The motto for me is slow but steady. So there's always a risk to investing. I tend to take the less risky approach, which is still significantly risky. And of course, the younger I am, the more risk I can take. My biggest percentage of invested money is in ETFs. So like all world ETF, the S&P 500, and another ETF that is focused on large and mid-cap companies in developed countries. With the world ETF being around 35%, the S&P 500 25%, and the developed countries world ETF also 25%. Let me explain a bit what an ETF is. So an ETF is, how should I explain this in layman's terms? It's like a fund in which, let's say, the S&P 500 consists of 500 largest companies in the USA. So think of Microsoft, think of Amazon, Google, Meta, Facebook, and companies like that. So the 500 biggest companies. And basically what happens is that when you buy the S&P 500 ETF, you invest a small part, so you become a tiny bit an owner of all those companies. And basically, if they grow, your worth, so the worth of the ETF grows together with it. And I prefer ETFs, like also the all world ETF. The one I have is like 4,000 or 5,000 worldwide strongest companies. So it's not based, it's less risky. I mean, they say it's less risky because it's world based instead of only focused on the USA. So if something would happen in the USA which breaks their economy, the S&P 500 could plunge downwards faster than all world ETF, because it doesn't depend on the USA economic. It would probably go down because the US is such a strong economy, but it wouldn't go down as fast as a S&P 500 ETF. The reason why I invest mostly in ETFs is risk management, because if you buy a single stock, let's say, I don't know, for example, a popular one is Nvidia, and if something happens, you never know, something happens and the stock goes from $150 to $80 or $75, you have lost half the worth of invested money. So you're dependent on the one company doing a perfect job to get money out of it. When it comes to the S&P 500, it drops and rises in lower rates. So I myself only invest in single stock companies only if I've did my due diligence and researched it from top to bottom, and I know everything about it. And even then, there's a big risk, but you have to try. Always do your own research. The other 50% is invested in dividend stocks, which consists of companies that are stable and proven. Now I'm talking about companies like Shell. Everyone should know Shell. It's an oil company and oil and energy company that has been there for decades. And I'm invested in two insurance companies called NN Group and ASR. Those are Dutch companies. The NN Group one is national and international, and the ASR is mostly focused national. What are dividend stocks, and why do I buy it? Well, my main focus is not on dividend stocks, but I am slowly and gradually buying in. Dividend stocks are not so focused on growth, which is nice when it happens, but they pay you every month, quarter, or 2 times a year a dividend, which basically dividend is the money that a company generates is given to the stock owners, which means that a company does have to have a nice cash flow for them to be able to pay it out to the dividend, to the stock owners. When it comes to taxes, it's not very efficient in the Netherlands because it's seen as income, so you have to pay income tax over it, but after a certain amount. The nice thing about dividend stocks is, even though the S&P 500 grew better and faster compared to dividend stocks, is that dividend stocks, they pay you every month or every quarter. So you get cash flow, but you don't have to sell the stock to get money, if you know what I mean. So if you have children and you have, 5,000 Johnson & Johnson stocks or PepsiCo, and when your time comes, you can give it to your kids who will get money from it without having to sell it. But when it comes to growth stocks, like, for example, the Palantir stock is very popular now. It went from $30 to 70 or 80 within a couple of months. But the thing is, if you have 100 of those stocks, it doesn't pay you a dividend. But if you want money from it, you have to sell the stock to get it. So you get probably more money, but you lose the amount of stocks that you have. And with dividends, it works the other way around. The stock usually doesn't go up very much or down very much, but they do pay you the dividends. And early on in the investment, what I do is every dividend I get, I just reinvest it in the stock. So gradually it becomes a snowball. So that on dividend stocks. Another reason why I don't want to have much cash saved up in the bank is inflation. And if you don't know what inflation is, it's basically, how should I explain it? Have you ever noticed that like a couple of years ago you could buy, I don't know, somewhere a sandwich for $2 and now it costs 4 or 5. That is mostly what inflation is. How should I say it? Usually inflation comes because the government prints too much money. And that's most of the times the reason inflation is high or goes lower, because the more money there is, the less it's worth. I don't know, how should I explain it in simple terms. Like in 2020, USA printed like 1 point something trillion dollars and they gave it to everyone monthly, or was it to anyone? The dollar. There was so much money printed that the inflation rose and the money became less worth. That's also the reason why the gold price goes up, or why everything becomes expensive, why houses in Europe go from, I don't know, 200,000 to 400,000 in a couple of years. It's based on inflation. So they did a calculation, and in the past 4 or 5 years, 30% of, if you had money saved up, so let's say $100,000, 30% of that the $100,000 has lost 30% of its value. So what you could buy for $70,000 a couple of years ago, you now need $100,000. Which basically means your money is getting eaten up if you just keep it on the bank without a high percentage getting back, because banks mostly don't give high percentages back for having money saved up. That's why I invested and gradually try to get my investment back with a bonus added to it. Another way that I want to build my wealth or net worth is I try to live frugal. I only buy what I need. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not a cheapskate. I love to see the world, countries, cities, and experience the culture, like museums and castles in different countries. I try to spend approximately 20% on things I like or I want to do, 30% on things I need to buy or I do, and 50% on saving and investing. But most of the 50% is investing. Now, if you want to buy a house, I would not recommend investing but saving up if you need it for a down payment, because I don't want to invest and buy a ETF for, let's say, $10,000 worth of ETFs, and let's say it's a month in which the market is not doing great and the 10,000 becomes 9,000. So you need to do a down payment for your house. You have to sell your ETFs for a loss, and it's not smart to do. So in short term, if you know you're gonna buy a house, I personally would just put it on the bank. My way of living frugal is that my hobbies are mostly not so expensive. So I read books, which I can sometimes buy on big discounts at thrift store, or when I get a voucher, gift card, or a coupon from friends or family, or work. Even my work sometimes gives like 40 or 50 bucks worth of coupons, and then you can go on Amazon and buy like 5-6 books. And at the thrift store, they sell books here in the Netherlands for like $1 a book sometimes. I pay 50 bucks for the gym, and that's a pretty reasonable amount. I can also find a gym that's like 15 or 20 bucks, but it's further away, so I have to pay to get there. And in my gym where I'm at, there you have so many options, but for me what's important is there's a pool in which I can swim, there's a steam bath, and there's a sauna. Most of the times the cheaper gyms don't have those options, and I can basically go swim every day. I can go to the sauna every day whenever I want, from early in the morning till late at night. So you could say 50 bucks is expensive for a gym, but on the other hand, if you would go to a sauna, which is like a dedicated sauna place, you pay like 18 bucks for one time, or 20 bucks. Well, I can go 30 days in a row for those $50. For the rest, I spend a lot of time with my wife and my friends, and usually those types of time spending aren't expensive. Either we go to each other's homes, or everyone cooks something, you know what I mean? Like, when my friends come to me, I will also make a video on it. I make, in my opinion and their opinion, very good pizza. So I just make a pizza for like 3 or 4 people for not even $10. While if I would order a pizza, you would pay $10 a pizza. So 40 bucks compared to $10. That's the way you have to weigh your stuff and see where you can spend more or spend less. And I also don't spend money to impress others or even impress myself. Usually I just buy things I need or like, and I know I will use for a very long time. Impulse shopping or impulse buying is also a terrible thing in my opinion. I order food rarely and go out eating on special occasions. Like I said before, I make my coffee with high quality beans for less than 50 cents, while going to Starbucks costs me $5 at the minimum. Basically, after I realized how money works a little bit, like I said, not a professional, but I'm starting to see how it really works. I tend to spend less on things that I really don't need. We all have things we worry about, and I just love the fact that I'm working towards a path in which money is something to not really worry about. Because I remember when I was younger, the biggest worry I had was how to make money, and can I find a job that I'm willing to do for the rest of my life. I grew up with a single parent, so life wasn't always easy, and I wanted all the things that all the other kids had, so it was a bit like keeping up with the Joneses, but then for teenagers. Now that I can buy practically whatever I want, and I'm not talking about boats or airplanes, but the normal people stuff, I can buy whatever I want. I wanting to spend on things that are shiny and develop the habit of spending on things that I need. That's basically it. Like, the motto, don't spend money on the things you don't need to impress people you don't like. It was something like that. There you are. I hope this helped, and I wish you the very best in life and many riches. Remember, money is not evil, it's what you do with the money. Let me know in the comments if you liked the video, and of course you can always subscribe or support my work. Speaking about support, I would like to give a quick shout out to my supporters on the Buy Me a Coffee page. So a quick shout out to Phil, a quick shout out to Dominic Vane, shout out to Rob, Denise, and Antox. Thank you very much for supporting my work. I wish you the best in life, and see you next time again. Bye bye.